because we've never screwed anything up on this channel before. Today's episode is made possible through the continuing support of the wonderful Dominic Vogel, as well as dozens of people just like you on Patreon. If you like what you see and you want to help support it, be a part of this, check out the links below in the description and find the many ways that you can get involved, hang out, and even help build a robot. Thank you guys for everything that you do. Hi there guys, welcome back to the shop. I'm Chris Boden and we're doing episode 31 of Project ARchi, where we're going to connect this, which is a GX16-4 connector because it has 4 pins. And we're going to be installing this side of it into our robot base, which is going to be pretty cool. This will actually be the power connector for it. This is the female side, which will be plugging into the male side here. The male side is what we're going to put into our base. So to begin, you want to take this apart. You're going to, depending on what brand of these you get, you may or may not have the ring, but you'll definitely have the nut for this side. So you'll need the nut and the ring if you have it. They don't all come with rings, but frequently they do. Set this aside. We'll get to this in a minute. So you're going to want to find your J3 motor leads. That's these. Mine are labeled J3. Now, as you look at your nut, you'll see that it's got a sharp side off to my right, and it's got a rounded side off to the left. You want to have the sharp side biting into the panel. So grab your motor lead and put the round side up the motor lead, okay? And just run that right on up in there. And then if you have the little ring washer thing, run that up your wire after it. All right, so once we have those in place, then pull all the other wires out of the way and make sure you don't have anything that you're tangled with and that you're totally separate, nice and clean and straight and true. And then run your J3 motor leads out the bottom hole way off to the edge. It'll be the bottom hole off to the left side. And you're just gonna run all those wires straight out the hole. Now you're gonna wanna have enough to work with, but you also wanna be able to have what's called a service loop. Whenever you're terminating wires in a box, it's a good idea. Personally, I like to leave 6 inches hanging out and then do all your terminations at the end. This way, if something changes or you have to go back and re-terminate those wires, you've got enough to work with. So what I'm gonna do is I know that I'm gonna have to fit a lot of wire in this box. And I also know I'm gonna have to be out far enough to cut, strip, terminate, and then stuff this back into the box. So I'm gonna stretch it out nice and straight all the way. And then I'm just gonna grab and find a spot. I'm gonna go out like 3 inches and see how that sits. And I can push that all back in the box and it doesn't take up a lot of room. It kind of tucks off over to the side here and it gives me enough to work with. Now, I could stuff all of that in there. It really doesn't take up much room in the bottom and that might be okay. But am I gonna need this much cable in the future? And the answer to that is probably not. So I'm gonna leave, like if it's all stretched out, I'm gonna come out about 4 inches and I'm gonna cut that off there. And I'm gonna put a new label on my leads, but I'm gonna do that when I'm done after everything's all sorted out and so I don't have to mess with it. But for right now, I'm gonna come out, let's say 1 good fist, okay, which gives me about 4 inches, and I'm gonna cut those off out here. That gives me enough wire to work with and enough of a safety net in the future because we've never screwed anything up on this channel before. That never happens. So now I've got my 4 wires coming out and we're gonna strip all those to be able to terminate. And I've stripped them all about 1 centimeter. That's way more than I'm gonna need. I'm looking at my connector here and I can see the solder cups on the back and those don't want all of that. So I don't really need all of that. These wires don't actually go up inside. You can see that those are closed-ended. So my wire, I'm gonna need just a few millimeters I'm going to leave an open space off the end of the wire and then come down to about here, and that's where I'll clip them. So let's just establish our length here. We'll just look at the solder cups of where we're at and see where we want to be. And we can see that right about here. I'll cut that off, spin that down. And I'm going to want to be about like that. That's the look I'm going for. So I'm going to trim all my wires to that length, which is just about 1/4 inch, give or take. And we'll just spin these all down and trim them all nice and short. They don't all have to be exact. There is room for artistic interpretation here. I don't like to have it right up tight to it, because you're just going to melt your insulation. And the whole thing's getting tinned anyway. So keep it neat and clean. You certainly don't want to leave it longer than that, because like if it's too long, if it twists, because it's a screw and plug, if it twists or something like that, you could get them shorting out. You don't want to leave them long enough where one wire could ever touch the one next to it with bare wire. Okay, clean up all our little mess there. Now we're going to take a minute and tin all our ends. So I'm going to fire up my FX888D, get that going. And we can get all these other wires out of the way, so we're not going to have to mess with those for a while. This whole thing is just 4 wires. There's a million wires here, but while this is a big, complicated project, if you break it down into a series of very small steps, you can build a whole cathedral. It's all just a collection of small, simple steps, and you just break it down. So I'm going to put a little flux on some things here. Now I've got tinning flux. Maybe that's what I want. I've got a flux pen. I'm used to using a flux pen because I'm used to soldering electronic stuff, but I think for this, I think I want my tinning flux. So we're going to try this out. Ooh, it's goopy. It's goopy. Let's see how well this works. Just going to load up my flux brush here. You don't have to be afraid with using a flux brush because they're disposable anyway. I'm going to grab a holder of some kind. This will work. I just want something to weight that down and hold it where I want it while I'm working on it. Don't breathe that. It's bad for you. Grab me a little bit of solder here, and we're just going to tin this wire. Beautiful. That's exactly what I want. And we'll give that a little flux. Bigger the job, the better the job. It's also good if you get a couple hairs from the flux brush right up in there so you can melt those to it. Beautiful. And I actually do have a little crinkly hair from the flux brush in there, but I'll pick that out. Oh, it breaks right off. There. Because I know you care. Because somebody out there is like, oh my God! All right, we'll do black next. A gob of flux that we can melt right in there. And really, that's tinned pretty much the moment I touch it, because I've got a little bit of solder on the iron. A gob of flux. Put a little solder on our iron, a little gob there. And that's beautifully tinned right all the way around. All right, so that's all 4 of those. Nice. So now let's tin our thing. And I'm going to put just a dab of, I have no idea how the hell I'm going to do this. So I'm going to add a little flux in each cup. Just a little gob in each cup like that. It ain't pretty, but it'll do. And now we have to solder our wires in the right order. It's really important the wires go in the right spot. So pay very close attention as I do this, and I'll make sure that I get the wires where they're supposed to be when viewed from the back of the connector like this. So our top left corner is black, and I do not know how, I'm going to tin those first. I'm going to spin that around so I can see it too. Okay. This is where I wish I had a friend. Okay, I got that one in there. So that's black. Now black, you can see the key in there. See the key off to the side? So with the key up, black is the top left corner, okay? Black is top left, and we're gonna have the key up facing this way. There's my key. I flip that around. Black is the top left corner. Okay. Green is, I'm actually gonna go low and do red on the bottom. I should have done the bottoms first. That would have made this easier. Let me get that spun around. Do I have a way to just hold that down? Will you do that? Because if it just holds it down, I wonder, I have an idea. Okay, so they make helping hands and stuff like that for soldering, and those are awesome. But for this particular application, this exact moment in history that we share, a pair of vice grips are going to be perfect for this. Because I want something that'll just hold on to it gently, but have a lot of weight. I don't want it walking around on me. So, yeah, vice grips. So we're going to want red. Now, I'm doing this upside down at the moment. Our key is up there. So black is at the top, and I'm going to flip that upside down and put red. Yeah, so I've got the key at the bottom at the moment. We're going to be 180 degrees out of phase. That's engineer for upside down. And because the way the cups are shaped, I want to be able to get that in there. But I'll make sure to give you a lot of clarity after I put this in of exactly what wires go where, because I don't want to screw you up. I think I got... Nope, I didn't. I thought I had it. That got it. Okay, cool. All right, so that's black and red. Let's move that around and make sure everything bit down like it's supposed. Oh, see, that's not a very good solder joint. We're gonna do that again. I don't like that solder joint. We must do better. This is tricky to do because everything wants to move. Add some more up here too. All right, I think that got us both of those. Yeah, that's decent. A little ugly there. What even is that? What even are you? Let me get a pokety bit. It might be a little chunk of solder or something. We're just going to pick that right out of there because I don't know what it is, but I don't want to wander around my plug because if that is a piece of solder or something, it's going to be conductive. All right, those are looking great. I can absolutely live with that. And with our key up, there's our key. See it? I'm going to turn the key up and flip that right round. And now black is top left and red is bottom left. I'm going to flip this around again because it's easier to work these at different angles for actually soldering them together. And now we're going to do this will be green. We're going to do green next. No, we're going to do blue next because it'll be easier to get to. We're going to do blue and then green. And blue is going to go down here because blue is opposite black and next to red. So we're going to grab that. Move that right in where I can get a finger in there because I got to hold all this stuff and breathe just right. Okay. Bring the heat. I'm gonna put it right down where I want it in the cup. And then I'm gonna heat the cup from the back side. Okay, and then I'm gonna come back, heat it again, and add more solder. That's beautiful. A little tug test, make sure we're good. Everything's cool. Everything's happy. And now let's do that again. One more time. Okay. Heat it from the back. And that kind of like tack welds it in place. Then I'm going to add some solder. Okay. I think that's all of them. It looks good. Yeah, look at that. That's beautiful. I'm proud of that. Look at that fitting. All right, so with the key up on the inside, you can see the key, right? On the inside of the barrel. We'll flip it around, and from the back, you should have black, green, red, blue. Okay? So top left, looking from the back, top left is black, and below that is red. Top right is green, and below that is blue. That is the sacred order. Top row, black, then green. Bottom row, red, then blue. And that's with the key up here at this position. So the key's coming from above like that. Black, then green, and then the bottom is red, then blue. It's really important you put them in the right order. So I'm gonna turn my soldering iron off before I burn myself because that's never happened. And now all you gotta do is have the fun little fight of gently getting the wires into the thing. Now when you put this in there, you wanna keep your key up. That's important. Keep your key up. So I'm looking down at black and green. So as long as I'm looking down at black and green, I know my key is up and I'm cool. And now you just got to tease those little rings into position. And the first one is just a ring. That's just a washer. And that's easy, he says. And then we got to get the nut down over it. There is no good shot of this. It's just by touch. Don't feel bad. I can't see what I'm doing either. This is the hardest part of the whole job. Oh, you suck. Oh, I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. All right, I'm going to find out what size wrench fits that. Give me a minute. Cool thing is when you buy these, they come in a multi-pack size. So I can just take one of these nuts off. And I'm gonna go find out what wrench fits this so I can teach you. All right, after considerable research and experimentation, field studies, it is not quite 19 millimeters, but that's the closest I've got. And it's not quite 3/4. So if you use a regular box end wrench or open end wrench, it's going to be a nightmare to try and fit it in there. What I have is a set of grip wrenches. These are really super thin. These are for working on bicycles and stuff. I use them for working on bikes. I build e-bikes. You've seen videos. These might fit down in there. I'm gonna try the 19. Because these are really slim profile wrenches. Like if you look at this compared to the nut, it's not much thicker than the nut. This whole wrench is only like 1/4 inch thick. And I think, oh yeah, that is totally the ticket for that. That is absolutely the way to do that. Now you want to be gentle because this is just a 3D printed case. So next problem you're going to have is how do you keep that from turning while you're trying to hold it with a nut? Well, that's where you can use the other side because you want it to end up right side up. You don't want to. Okay, so we can do that. And I can just grab that. I don't need the vice grips for this. We'll just grab a regular pair of pliers. Now I can spin that where I want it and tighten it with the other tool. So you want to make sure you keep an eye on where your pin is. I know I'm good there. And it doesn't have to be exact, but you get points for neatness. So I'm going to spin that. I'm going to spin that. So a useful tip to know. If you look at a wrench, you ever notice how wrenches are always kicked off a little bit at an angle? Like whenever you look at a wrench, it's always bent over a little bit, and there's a reason for that. If you're trying to get this on something and you don't, like you're in a tight little box or something, if you don't have the space to get it on this way, flip the wrench around and see how that radically changes the angle? We've gone from coming in this way to coming in this way, and you just got a huge amount of turn out of that without actually moving the handle. So if you can't get a wrench on one way, flip it around, you can probably get on the other. You just mess with it. But we are now on and in. It's good. I'm happy with it. And that is the J3, I think. I'm pretty sure that was 3. Let me see. J2, J1, that's the J3. Motor connector, terminated, all in its happy little box. Look at that plug. That makes me so happy. I am well pleased, is good. And now, at some point in the future, we'll be able to terminate the end of this and plug that in and screw it down, and that'll power the J1 motor, and things will happen and it'll move. It will in fact move like this. That's what the J1 motor do. Thank you for hanging out with me and sorting out that one. If you liked this video, you're gonna love the next two, because we get to do everything we just did twice more. Because we have to do in the next one J2 and then J1. It'll be J2 here and J1 there. It's the same thing. So if you want to get ahead, you already know everything you need to know. Just grab a couple more things and just keep on trucking. But I'm going to do it all as separate steps, because there may be unique things as we go that we need to learn and pick out. So I'm taking you through step by step, but the next two videos, it's going to get tedious around here. Thanks for hanging out with me though. I appreciate you hanging out in the shop and learning little shop skills like that you can flip the wrench. It's like paddle magic with a wrench. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.